Before going deep into this video, I would like to tell you, in this video we are going to learn two things. The first, the story, who is JP Morgan or what is JP Morgan? And the second thing, how JP Morgan and Chase actually work.
Phone and progression is all that I wanted. A foe in affection, I summon and dub it.
In 1837, John Pierpont Morgan was born into a family with one foot already in European banking. His father Junius isn't just wealthy, he is plugged into the most powerful banking network in the London. From childhood, Pierpont is being groomed, not gently, deliberately, and at the age of 15, rheumatic fever nearly cripples him. And his father doesn't send him to a hospital. He ships him alone to a remote island of Portugal. No family, no comfort, just an Atlantic Ocean and time to figure out himself. Morgan comes back together. He studies in Switzerland and Germany, where a math professor at the University of Göttingen tells him he has the mind for an academic career. But Morgan has other plans. At the age of 19, in 1857, he arrives in New York City, fluent in French and German and trained in mathematics, and connected to the most powerful money networks through his father's London firm. He starts as a clerk, but he won't stay for long. Morgan's early career was basically a masterclass in confidence. He stumbles across a ship captain with hold full of coffee and zero buyers. Here most men walk past, but Morgan buys the entire cargo on the spot, using his employer's money without asking permission, and sells it immediately to a local merchant for profit. He wasn't reckless, he was fast. He saw what others didn't, and he moved before they could catch up. That instinct never left. Through the 1860s, he built his own banking firm, J. Pierpont Morgan and Company. Now European capital is flooding into America, and Morgan is the man directing traffic. His father's London connections give him access to the money that most American bankers can only dream about. In year 1871, he partners with the Anthony Drexel to form Drexel Morgan and Company, which immediately becomes the dominant private bank in the United States and the primary agent of US government financing service. When Drexel dies in 1895, Morgan recognizes the firm under his own name, JP Morgan and Company. He is now, without question, the most powerful banker in America.
The paper, I'm a money machine. The shit's in my jeans. Run up the numbers like it's a routine. I'm going for blood, no matter the size of the team. As long as they breathe and they bleed, I feel like Rashid. The ball never lies. We playing for.
The Gilded Age is America going from agriculture backwater to industrial superpower in a single generation, and JP Morgan is the man that writing the checks that make it happen. His signature move is reorganization. America's railroad in 1870s and 80s are a disaster, overbuilt and bankrupt, and destroying each other rates in war. Morgan sees the chaos and does what he always does. He brings order. He brokers deal between rival lines and restructures their debt, takes board seat to ensure discipline. The process becomes known as Morganization, his personal brand of turning financial wreckage into ruthless profitability. But here railroads are just the warm-ups. Here comes the 1892. Morgan orchestrates the merger of Edison General Electric and Thomson Hawson Electric, and the result, General Electric, one of the most consequential companies in American history, built in a boardroom by a banker. Then in 1901, the deals that defines him. Morgan buys the Andrews Carney's steel empire for nearly $500 million, the single largest business transaction in the history to that point, and merges it with the other producers to create United States Steel Corporation, the world's first billion-dollar company. Morgan controls 21 railroad companies and holds major stake in US Steel, General Electric, Western Union, and dozens more companies. He doesn't run these companies, he controls them through capital, board seats, and implicit understanding. Here's what separates Morgan from other business tycoons of his era. Rockefeller built an oil empire, Carnegie built steel, and Morgan built a system that makes all of it possible. And then, when that system started to collapse, he was the one who held it together. The US Treasury was nearly empty in 1895. A gold rain threatens to destroy the dollar. President Grover Cleveland is desperate. Here Morgan forms a private international syndicate, lends the government over $60 million in gold, and stabilizes the currency. He just bailed out the United States of America. Then comes the 1907. A speculative bubbles burst. Banks start failing. Panic started from city to city. People are sitting in chairs outside the bank branches overnight, waiting to withdraw their money before it disappears. There is no Federal Reserve, no government backup, no plan. Here Morgan calls an emergency summit. He gathers the president of America's most powerful banks at his private library on East 36th Street in Manhattan. He locks the door. He works them through the night, negotiating, pressuring, refusing to anyone leave, until he assembled a rescue firm large enough to stop the panic. And guess what? By morning, crisis is over. One private citizen with no legal authority has just saved America's financial system. Congress was so shaken by the fact that a single man could wield that much power that they have created Federal Reserve just 6 years later. so the country would never have to depend on a banker again. Morgan died in 1930. He was 75. His fortune was estimated at around $80 million, a fraction of the man he had financed. The Rockefeller heard the number. He reportedly said, and to think, he was not even a rich man. He was right. Morgan was never about the money. He was about the power, order, and the control. And the machine he built, it kept running long after he was gone. After Morgan's death, his son Jack ran the firm for 3 more decades. In 1940, it went public. Over the following 50 years, a wave of mergers swept American banking, and JP Morgan and Company and Chase Manhattan, one of America's largest commercial banks, came together in 2000 to form JP Morgan and Chase. And in 2008 financial crisis, JP Morgan acquires Bear Stearns and Washington Mutuals, two of the biggest collapses in banking history, for pennies on the dollar. And in 2023, regional banking panic. Here JP Morgan acquires the First Republic Bank. Here every crisis has same story. Everyone else bleeds and JP Morgan buys. Before we get into JP Morgan's number, here is the simplest version how banks make money, because it's not obvious. First way of making money is interest. You deposit money, they pay you 0.5% and they lend it to someone else at 10%. They keep that difference. That gap is called the net interest margin. And at scale, it's an extraordinary money machine. And the second way is fees, or advising a company on a merger, managing billionaires' portfolio, processing $1 trillion in corporate payments. None of this requires the bank to risk a single dollar of its own money. It's pure service revenue. And JP Morgan and Chase does both simultaneously at a scale that almost no other institution on earth can match. There are some certain revenue engines. First, this is the Chase you know. Checking accounts, mortgages, auto loans, and most powerfully credit cards. JP Morgan is the #1 credit card issuer in America. Chase Sapphire, Chase Freedom, the Amazon Prime Visa. When you swipe, the merchant pays a small fee. Morgan reportedly captures around half of the US e-commerce payment volumes. At that scale, fractions of percent becomes billions of dollars. Then there are deposits, the quiet engine behind everything. When tens of millions of Americans park their paychecks in Chase accounts, the bank gets a cheap, stable pool of capital it can deploy into higher yield loans and investments. Deposits are the foundations, and JP Morgan has more of them than no one else. And the second one is where P. Morgan would feel right at home. JP Morgan's investment banking arms is the ranked #1 globally in fees. And year after year, company wants to go public. JP Morgan runs the IPO. Pharmaceutical giants want to acquire biotech. Morgan advises the deals. Government needs to issue bonds. JP Morgan underwrites them. Here, every transaction needs the fee, and none of it requires putting banks' own money at risk. And the third is JP Morgan manages over $3.5 billion in assets. It charges management fee, and it is charged on everything it oversees. Beyond the several engines, two things make JP Morgan truly different. First, the fortress balance sheet, and the second is technology. JP Morgan invests $50 million a year on tech, more than the most pure software companies. AI for fraud detection, machine learning for credit decision, cloud infrastructure that cut its cost by 30% in a single year. Here's what the JP Morgan really is. JP Morgan once said the first thing in a business is a character. Before money, before anything else. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video.